Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to Warren Beach Students Online. My name is Jake, and I'm excited to have you join me this week. So whenever we have someone over to our house or we FaceTime with someone, really doesn't matter who it is, whether it's my parents, Melissa's parents, my sisters, her sisters, doesn't matter who it is. It could be just some random person coming to repair something. Our boys get super excited and want to show off every single toy, book, shoe, everything that they own. They want to show it off and invite people in to see the things that make them excited, things that they love. We've been in this series the past couple of weeks called New Season's Greetings, and what we've been doing is looking at Christmas from a few different angles and thinking through a few different themes that we find through the real story of Christmas. The first week, a couple weeks ago, we looked at the story of Mary and Martha and Jesus going to their house and how Mary sat at the feet of Jesus while Martha was running around making everything happen. And we talked about how important it is to not allow the distractions of this season, of the Christmas season, to get in the way of focusing on what's best, and that's Jesus. Last week, we looked at the phrase, do not be afraid, or do not fear, and talked about how the season of Christmas is about joy. It should be about joy and the hope and promise that we have through Jesus' coming. But at the same time, we can be overwhelmed with fear and whatever it is, and what we saw is that when 4 different occasions God shows up through his angels and says, "Do not fear." And for the next few minutes, what I want to do is I want to take a look at the 2 responses of both the shepherds and the wise men and how they responded to the story of Christmas, to being told of what was happening with the birth of Jesus. And I want to challenge us to make that our response as well. And so what we're going to see first is the first response to Christmas, and that is to come and see. Look at how the shepherds respond in Luke chapter 2, verses 15 and 16. When the angels had left them and gone into the heavens, the shepherds said to one another, "Let's go to Bethlehem and see this thing that has happened, which the Lord has told us about." So they hurried off and found Mary and Joseph and the baby who was lying in the manger. Jump backwards to Matthew chapter 2, verses 2b, second part of verse 2 of Matthew 2, and the first part of verse 11, where it says, "We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him." And then verse 11, "When they saw the star, they were overjoyed." So when the shepherds and the wise men heard what God had done, that he had sent his son, they had to go and see it and experience it for themselves. See, even though they didn't know it yet, God had given them exactly what they needed. And on top of that, God had made it clear to them and all people, and they were so excited to see what God had done for them. And so they dropped everything to come and see. God's call to the shepherds and the wise men to come and see is the same call he has for each of us. Come and see what I have done for you and what I can do for you. If you look in the Psalms, David encourages us to taste and see that the Lord is good. Jesus himself even encourages us to see what a relationship with him was like when he says in Matthew chapter 11, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." Jesus knew that once people experience the love and forgiveness that's only available in him, lives are changed for the better. Jesus also knew that once our lives had been changed by his love and grace, once we had seen and experienced for ourselves what God has done through the gift of his son, that there was no way that we would be able to keep it to ourselves. So the first response we see is through the story of the shepherds and the wise men and their interaction with the birth of Jesus is to come and see. Come and see what God has done and can do and will do for us. And that brings us to the second response to Christmas. Go and tell. Immediately after they had seen Jesus, the shepherds started telling anyone and everyone that they came into contact with what God had done. Look at Luke 2:17-20. When they had seen him, they spread the word concerning what had been told them about this child. And all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds said to them. But Mary treasured up all these things and pondered them in her heart. The shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all the things they had heard and seen, which were just as they had been told. The wise men, too, they were excited. They wanted to go and start sharing about what they had seen. But because of Herod, the king at the time, and that's a story for a different time, trying to use the wise men to get to Jesus, God showed up to them in a dream and was like, whoa, pump the brakes. Just wait till you guys get out of the country and then go wild. Both the shepherds and the wise men had just met the Messiah, and they wanted to go and tell it to anyone and everyone because of how big of a deal it was. See, once God has shown up, once God makes a difference in our lives, we need to tell people about it. We should want to tell people about it. One year for Christmas, I was given a pair of pajamas as a gift. And normally, like, I'm all about the pajamas. Like, every year we have a tradition where we always get a new pair of pajamas on Christmas Eve, and we always sleep under by the Christmas tree. So I sleep, in my armchair or on the floor next to the boys, and we sleep by the Christmas tree, and that's one of our traditions. And so getting pajamas is fun. It's an awesome deal. Except this time, the bummer is that the pattern of the pajamas and the design was really geared for a young kid, like a little kid. Like, they weren't necessarily footy pajamas, but they were not geared for me, which I was 15, 16 years old at the time. And so in order to not be rude at the gift of these pajamas, which were really meant for a little kid, I kind of gave one of those forced smiles and kind of, through gritted teeth, like, thank you. That was so sweet. But have you ever given someone a gift or have gotten a gift from someone and all you could do was just kind of the fake, smile and thank you, or even just sat there in silence? It's not a great feeling. And yet sometimes that's how we respond to the gift of Christmas. Especially for those of us that have grown up in the church, maybe Christmas time and the story of Jesus's birth is just, it's rehearsed. It's normal. It's not as exciting as it really is. Maybe we don't get as excited to experience the joy and presence of Jesus. Maybe we aren't rushing to share with our friends and family that Jesus has come into the world. Maybe we're struggling with, maybe we're just in this place where we are just silent, where we sit and do nothing. That the story of Jesus's birth, Jesus coming into this world to eventually die on the cross in our place, and then to rise from the grave, defeating sin and death once and for all. Maybe we are just numb to the excitement of it. And so what I want to end this message with, this study with, is to challenge you to simply respond to Christmas. See, what we get to celebrate at Christmas is, we get the trees and the gifts and the traditions and the fun things. We get to have all the excitement surrounding all that stuff. But what it is it's the birth of Christ. It's the birth of the one who would take our place on that cross, who would provide a way for us to have a relationship, to spend eternity with God the Father. And so I want to invite you to respond to that. Whether maybe if you've never experienced that love and forgiveness, if you haven't placed your trust in Jesus, I want to invite you to come and see for yourself that there's no greater Christmas present that you could ever receive than a personal relationship with Jesus that is connected to and full of redemption. And if you have experienced the miracle of Christmas, if you've placed your faith in Jesus, I want to invite you to, just like the shepherds and the wise men many years ago, go and tell others what God has done for you, so that they too may find and worship the King whose birth we celebrate today. This is awesome. I love Christmas. I know many of you love Christmas, but what I love the most about it is that we get to celebrate the birth of the Messiah, the one who came to this earth to live just like you and I are living, to die in our place, and then who then rises from the grave, declaring victory over sin and death once and for all, in order for you and I to be able to have a relationship and to spend eternity with God the Father, the Creator, the Alpha, the Omega, the beginning and the end. How awesome is that? Come and see that and the excitement surrounded by that, and then go and tell others about who Jesus is and why Christmas is such an awesome time of the year. Merry Christmas, y'all. Have a great week, and I'll see you next week.